Hello everyone, my name is Harsh and a very warm welcome to all of you in this block state management course, and in which we were creating block and qubits in the previous lectures. And in this video I want to show you some of the amazing features of block, which I actually like it. So before that, I have created a basic project here. There is a main.dart which refers to home screen. So this is our home screen. There are two buttons, block and qubit. So there are simply two elevated buttons I have used, and on click of those buttons I am navigating to block screen, and on click of the below button I am navigating to qubit screen. So they both are the same screen which we created in the previous videos. Now let's go to the block screen, and inside this you will see I have written just app bar, body, that same stuff that we did in the last video, and that increment and decrement stuff. And one more thing that I added here is block.close. So when you create block or qubit like this, it is always a good practice to dispose it inside the onDispose function by calling close. And I have also used a leading underscore, which simply means this is a private variable and it will be only used inside this class. The same I have done for the qubit. So for the qubit as well. Now let's open any of the file, let's say counter block, and which we created in the last video. So as you can see, there is nothing much. There are just events, and what we have printed is just like this. There is a increment counter and there is a decrement counter. And what you will see is these logs are repetitive in nature. So these are exactly happening for each and every event. So let's say I want to write this code only once. So how I can do that? Rather than writing it in the functions, what I will do is there is a onChange function in each and every block as well as qubit. There are mainly 4 type of functions, so we will be exploring the first one for now, which is onChange. So as the name suggests, this function is called when the state of the block or qubit changes. So simply here what I can do is I can just print the log, and rather I can try printing this change. Let's see what this change contains. So I just print this change, and I can just remove this, and I can print something here more worthwhile, which means the type of this change. What is the type of change? So I can just write it like this, change dot runtime type. This will show the type of object at the runtime. So for now simply control save, and I open the terminal and I click on this block. Since I have done it for block, you will see there is nothing much for now. This is just the counter which we were printing here inside log, nothing more than that. Now if I tap on this, you will see this is of type change int, and here there is a change occurred from current state to the new state. So this is pretty awesome thing about block and qubit, that whenever a change occurs, we can also track the last change and we can also track the next change. This is quite useful when you want to implement undo and redo functionalities in block, as well as you want to implement undo or redo in any another thing, because you have a last state when the new state changes. The same we can do with the qubit. So inside this counter qubit, I can just copy that counter blocks function. So simply this onChange, and inside this counter qubit I can just go and paste it like this. Now if I go to qubit like this and I click on this, you will see there is a change, and actually I haven't removed this inside qubit, so I can just remove this, and you can see there is also a change. And you can also access the previous state like this, change dot current state, which is the current state, and the next state is the state we are gonna change to. This is quite a useful functionality when you want to trigger some code on the change of a state, or you want to simply log it out, and some another scenarios. Now similarly we also have a function called as onError. So whenever an error occurs in block or qubit, this onError function is triggered. So for now I just can print it out as well. So simply a log error, and I'm just printing the error, and I'm just printing this stack trace. Now how we are gonna replicate this error? User can only increment the counter to the value 5, and if he tries to increase value higher than 5, it will throw an error. So I can just write a condition here. If state is equals to 5, or let's say state is greater than equals to 5, in that case we can add an error to the block or a qubit. Okay, so simply like this exception, and I can write something cannot increase value more than 5, and simply like this. And I can say is there is one more parameter that I have to pass in this error, which is stack traces, and I can ignore those as well. Okay, if I don't pass, it will be kind of empty there. Now what will happen is inside this qubit, actually I just need to go back, so the qubit will be created again. I click on this works, and on the 5th tab it is throwing me an error. So this is the error it is throwing, cannot increase more than 5, and since we haven't passed any stack traces, it automatically generated some. So if we wish to, we can pass some. Okay, so this is how we kind of manually add errors. Now you might wonder, why do we want to add an error? Let's assume like this. We were doing some operation in a certain screen and we get an error. It can be anything, and we want that error should be handled. So we add error to that particular block or qubit by accessing in that screen, and we add the logic of error handling here, like showing a toast message or anything else. So which means error can occur in any screen, but we can add it manually and we can handle the logic all in one place. So this can be a pretty good thing which we will use in future as well. So for now, if you don't understand that scenario much, it's completely okay, but we can add an error in block as well as qubit like this, and we can access it in a single place. Now inside this qubit there are no more functions. There are only mainly two, onChange and onError. But inside block we have one of the most interesting function, okay, which is called as onTransition. This is quite an interesting one. The reason is it is quite useful in case of logs, in case of debugging, and in case of traceability. What do I mean by that? Before that, let's try to print it. So simply I have added a log transition.runtime type. So actually it will only give me this type. If I wish to get the type of this counter block, I just need to remove this and it will automatically get the runtime type of this block. And the same I can do here. We will see what impact it creates. So simply like this, and now I just go back and I just can clear this from here, and I can click on this block and I click on this increment. What you will see is this is our onChange which is being triggered here. So first onTransition is triggered, which says counter block, which means it is occurring in the counter block class. It is a transition function. The current state is 0 and the next state is 1, but there is something which suggests the event which caused this increment is called as counter increment. So this is an beautiful thing. Now why this can be useful? This can be useful in the scenarios. Let's say user have some kind of login in its phone, and let's say it's using Google login, and we from the administration panel disable the user accounts, so user logs out. So in that case these events are quite useful, like whether the user have manually logged out by pressing the logout event, okay, or logout button, or it is any another scenario which caused the user logout. So this kind of debug logs or analytics can be useful as a developer. Okay, so due to its traceability, Bloc is preferred by many organizations or companies and also some individuals. Okay, so this is the onTransition function or method we can say, and there is one more method here which is called as onEvent. Okay, so it provides us the event, so I can just use the log here too. So simply let's copy this one out and I can write it like event, and I can just press Ctrl save and I can tap on this. So you will see it prints the type of event which is occurring. So in case of Bloc, we actually don't require this onChange much, okay, and we also don't require this onEvent much. The both work can be done inside onTransition, and the important thing is the flow. So first onEvent is triggered, then onTransition is triggered, and finally onChange is triggered. Okay, so simply Control save. Now there is one more tip. Now let's say I don't want to mention these functions in each and every block as well as qubit. I want a global place to define these functions. So what I can do, what I can actually do is simply I can create a observer class. So I can call it, let's say, BlocObserver, since it is observing the block dot Dart, and it will be a class and it will be BlocObserver. And actually BlocObserver is a predefined class, so I will change its name to anything else. Let's say myObserver. Okay, so like this, myObserver, and this will extend BlocObserver. And inside this we can again override this onChange, onClose, onCreate is the function here, onError, onEvent, and onTransition. So simply onChange, and I can print it here simply like this, since they are block base, which means it will work for qubit as well as block. So here simply I can use a log. So simply like this I can mention block.runtime type and the change. Now what I will do is I will comment this onChange inside qubit, and as well as this, let's say, onError inside qubit. The same I will do with counter block. So I will just comment this one, and actually we need to initialize this before we can use it. So like inside this main we can use it, or we can initialize it simply here. Okay, so what we can do is we can write it like this: block dot and observer is equals to my observer. Okay, and simply control save. Now I just need to restart the app, and when I go inside block and when I tap on it, you will see counter block change, and this is the stuff change happened. If I even go to qubit and I just click on it, the same happening here, since we have commented those functions. Okay, this is executing the functions from this global observer. So we can even write global functions here, and this plays a quite an important role when we want to apply a common debug or log to all the blocks and qubit changes. Okay, and one more thing that we can use here is, let's say if I mention a onChange function inside block as well as my observer, which one should execute? Okay, so what I will do is I will write it like this inside block, and I press Ctrl save. I go back, I go inside block, and I press on this. So the both will be executed. So as you can see in the console, now I can even write some more things here like onCreate. So you can try some another as well. So simply block.runtime type, and I have just given a name to it, which means a create, and simply run it. And inside this block you can see created, and which is counter block. And if I go back to the qubit, created counter qubit. So it works. So that's it for this video. See you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and till then, bye bye.